Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Bell. Today I have with us some special guests. I have Dr. Nancy Gigante with me. I have Ms. Diane Schiller and Mr. Mike Wilson. They are cordially known as our TSS team. So today we're going to talk a little bit about TSS and what TSS is. So without any further ado, Nancy, would you be able to tell us what
Absolutely.
TSS is?
Okay. Sure. So TSS stands for Technology, Services, and Solutions.
Wow.
The department is actually housed at Parsippany Hills High School. Mm-hmm. Typically, though, the departmental staff can be found not there and just all across the district in our buildings and our schools, either providing support or delivering equipment, installing equipment, things like that. Diane and Mike manage the department. Diane on the service side and Mike on the infrastructure side. We have end user support technicians.
Wait, well, let's back up a second. Now you're listening. End user support technicians. Let's go back.
Yes, I've been educated. I've been educated on all this terminology. So the end users are just all of us who use the equipment, right? Okay. The students, they're end users. The staff, end users. Okay. Whoever's on the other end of all the technology in the background is the end user. So we have technologists who work specifically on supporting those users, help desk tickets, and any other issues.
For the audience, help desk.
So we have a help desk system. Our end users, put in help desk tickets either via the computer or they can call a help desk line. They can even chat live. That's a new feature we've established this year. Chat live with the help desk to get their support for when something is going wrong with their technology.
Thanks, Nancy.
Yeah.
I'm moving over to Diane now because Diane was so eager to get onto this podcast. And look at me. She can't wait to answer this question. Diane, let's talk about phishing.
We're switching around topic.
I'm throwing you off a little bit. But Diane, this is a running joke between us. But let's talk about phishing. What is it and what do we do in TSS and how can we prevent it?
Okay, so phishing are typically emails that are malicious. They can be text messages that they are not who they seem to be from. They portray to be a legitimate message. However, they are malicious and they are looking for the end user or the recipient of the email to either click a link and provide credentials or give away some information that could be useful for them to steal data and get infiltration into systems.
And why are we so cautious about that as a district?
So we are very cautious about that because even just one person who clicks on a bad link in an email, can provide credentials that can then be used to access some very sensitive data eventually, depending on how they get into the system and what they can find. They keep making more and more inroads until they get to the payoff of what they're looking for. So even people may say, well, what does it matter if, for me, my account or whatever, but it does because it gets access and then they could send an email as that person and then the other people might acquiesce and it becomes a whole, process that could take months, frankly, for the malicious people to get access.
So for the audience, most of these young people are much more schooled in, media than I am. But what are the proactive steps that we take? Because there are people like me that are not, schooled in this. What do they do?
We take several proactive steps. We provide monthly cybersecurity trainings that every staff member is required to watch to learn about various different phishing attempts or other cybersecurity risks that are happening in the world today that, are current. Things change rapidly, as you know, so we want to keep everyone abreast of what is currently happening. So they do receive those trainings. They're brief. They're usually entertaining and informative, and sometimes they have some questions, at the end. The other thing we do is send out what's called a phishing simulation, which is meant to look like an actual phishing email.
Can you explain to the audience what that would be like?
Yes.
Give us a scenario.
So a scenario would be we might send out something that says it's from the payroll department and you need to check your W-2 because there's some problems with it. And there'll be a link in the email And if the user clicks the link in the phishing simulation, it'll just tell them that you've been phished and, this is nothing really happened. But in a real life situation, they could potentially be giving away their account information. They could be changing their direct deposit to a malicious person. Like there could be
All because they
serious
didn't
repercussions.
look at the link.
So we teach people how to spot a phishing email. We teach them in the trainings and also in the phishing simulations what to look for, how to notice that something is not right, and then if you think it's not right, what are steps that you can take to determine if it's correct. Like for example, if you sent me an email that looked fishy to me and I wasn't sure if it was real or not, I might call you on the phone because I know your phone number and I know that you could tell me if you actually sent that email to me. So that's a way, rather than you never want to reply to something that you think is potentially suspicious. So you want to go in another method, another known method. Another thing we tell people is if the email says you should change your password in this system and it provides a link, you can go to that system the way you know to go to that system. Maybe we have a link on the district webpage, or maybe you have a bookmark, or maybe you just know in your head how to get to that site. You could go to that site and then you could log in and then you could change your password. This way you're not using the potentially fishy link in that suspicious email.
Well, we're going to get back to phishing because there's some questions that I want to ask so that the audience could maybe find a spot where they could go and they could look and they could learn about this phishing and some of the proactive steps that they could take. But in the interim, Mike, we're going to shift over to you. Mike, what is your title over at TSS?
So I'm manager of technology operations infrastructure. So I manage the infrastructure in the district, which includes the Wi-Fi network, our connectivity to the internet, the connectivity between the schools, and the servers that connect all these systems together, and servers like Genesis, for example, and other district servers that we use that house important data.
And I know that also part of your job, Mike, is to go around looking at the infrastructure that we have, making recommendations to the Board of Education, to our business administrator. I know that you're always busy with cameras. Why don't you get into a little of that? Like what?
Yeah, I mean, just the scope of our infrastructure, we support virtually any device that is connected to the network, and that could include, we have over 11,000 devices, computing devices. So I'm just going to say that's just computing devices. So that could be a MacBook, a Windows computer, a Chromebook, iPads. We also have 485 security cameras. To your point, right? We have 370 classroom displays that are connected to the network. We also partner with the maintenance department, for example, to provide connectivity for some of their building systems that control the HVAC units or the alarm system. We partner closely with Judy Carenti, who supports the visitor management system that we have. She supports transportation and the lunch system. So all those the lunch computers that connect to our network, and the door access system that we use that provides swipe access for the staff into the to the doors in the district. All of these devices adds up. I just had 11,000 computing devices, but when you add all of these devices, we're pushing more about 20,000 devices that are actually connected to our network. And we do that with a lot of wireless access points. So we manage 667 wireless access points. We have 160 network switches that connect those access points and provide wired access for, I didn't even mention printers. We have a lot of printers and copiers. So it's endless, really. I mean, as we go along, the amount of systems that are becoming more and more reliant on network connectivity. It used to be that, even lights, the new addition at Littleton, for example, some of those systems require network access.
And that's a good point. Like we asked TSS that they would run the wiring, and we asked TSS that they would be a part of that addition, and you did save us quite a bit of money by doing that yourselves and giving us the recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky to have a great crew, a staff that can, we accomplish a lot of it and able to take on a lot of that work in-house.
How many people do you have in your crew, like in your staff?
So in my staff managing the infrastructure, we have a network administrator and a server administrator, and we work very closely with the end user technicians that we have.
Right.
We have 2 senior techs, 6 techs that handle a lot of the end user support. We also have a help desk person and somebody who handles a lot of our databases and our systems with regards to like inventory and those types of things.
Well, I have to say it would be almost impossible to run the district without TSS because everything really runs through you guys. Because I know for a fact when we, have contact by attorneys or if we're contacted by the police department, we're always asking you to look back on video footage or get emails that were sent back and forth. And, can you talk a little bit about that process, how that works, Mike?
Yeah, we have a lot of systems in place for that. Thankfully, there are a lot of, technology has grown, so it makes the ability to do that easier as time has gone by. But the requests, come in.
Sure.
We have a lot of systems in place for a couple reasons. For just accountability, we want to make sure that we're logging and accounting for those types of requests, and we have some great systems that we just moved over to search effectively and quickly search emails. To kind of like whittle down. A lot of times, we're looking for a specific communication between staff members or staff and student, and to get to the right thing that we're looking for can be challenging. But thankfully, the technology has played a large role in being able to be more efficient. So it used to be that these requests used to take weeks to be able to pull together the information for whatever purpose that it's being requested for. We've been able to cut that down to days, hours. So that's been a huge win for us. We're just taking advantage of the technology available to us.
And I know that you, Nancy, like for example, Nancy's part of our senior management team here. And when we have our meetings once a week or twice a week, you talk about technology because questions have to be answered. So what type of questions for the audience so that they know, like, what do you bring? Like, what decisions do we have to make?
Well, I think Mike did a good job of pointing out just how vast this ecosystem, for lack of a better word, this ecosystem we've created of technology is.
Sure.
So it's pretty much just like in life, it's touching every part of our schools and everything we try to do. And you say about, what challenges or problems or what do you have to talk about? It's funny because it's always very rushed. You want to think that like we have time to plan and manage and troubleshoot, but the fact is that school's going on, right? Yeah. So when something is not working properly, it's like all hands on deck, drop everything, solve it. It's never really like, oh, you're afforded all this time.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's a big challenge.
Everything is always urgent.
And thankfully, our staff has met those challenges very successfully so far.
TSS going.
What?
Yeah.
See, here's a technology
I'm always
problem.
on the clock.
Always on the clock. It's
Exactly.
perfect, actually.
I like that.
Yes, it's actually perfect. But to your point as well, we are afforded time sometimes to have good discussions with district staff. We talk to administrators, teachers, secretaries, everybody who's using our technology, and students as well, because we want to deliver the best possible technological experience we can. So there are times when we do get to listen and plan and implement, and those are the kinds of things that I bring to senior cabinet to say, how do we all feel about this? How is it going to affect the business office or the curriculum office?
And you're explaining it to us
this.
so that we know why we're making decisions that we're making.
Yeah.
Without you doing that role, it would be difficult to make those decisions because we don't know enough as a group about technology. That's why you're there, the expert. Diane, let's talk about that phishing, for example. If people that are out there in the audience that are watching us and they don't know enough about phishing, what can they do? Is there websites that they can go to learn more about it? Like, off the top of your head, can you think of anything that they could do if they get a text message? Like, for example, this morning, I got a text message that said, my Easy Pass is that I violated a toll.
Right.
But when I look at the link,
Correct.
it says nothing to do with New Jersey or anything like that.
Right. So
like
that's a good example.
Right.
Exactly what they can do. I mean, I'm not sure about websites. I know if you search, Google has a really nice phishing simulation thing that you can actually take. And while you're taking it, and even if you get it, there's no grading if you get it right or wrong, it actually explains to you why this is a fishy email or it isn't. It shows you what to look at. So that's a useful tool. But what they can do is be extremely vigilant.
Right.
Always be questioning everything that doesn't look right, or even something that, is maybe not that questionable. Look at the link. mouse over the link and see like, where is this link going to? As I said before, go the way you know instead of the way through the link. Like, for example, with the Easy Pass text, you could have actually logged in to Easy
In fact,
Pass.
I might have to let you know what that actually says.
But you
know what I
could,
mean,
but
while
the,
we're here.
the
We're solving problems all the time.
So the person could actually go to their Easy Pass account the
That's what
way
it says.
they
It says
know.
actually Easy Pass. Your vehicle has an unpaid toll invoice, and to avoid excessive late fees, your bill, you know.
I mean,
pay
if
your
I
bill
got
on-
that text, what I would do is log into my
Easy
Easy Pass account the way I know,
Okay.
and I would look to see if I had a fine or a letter or a note, anything along those lines. You can also, try to contact whoever is sending you the message, not through what information is in the text,
Don't
but
click
with
on the
what
link.
you know. For example, anything about your credit card, there's always a number on the back of your credit card. That's the number to call, not a number that's in an email or, in a text message. I also tell people, ignore all those silly texts that say, hello, how are you, things like that, because they're looking to see if there's a person on the other end of the line.
Diane, I'm reminded of not long ago, we did have something come up in the district that we did have some employees fall prey to. And luckily, it didn't go too widespread and we caught it early, which was great. But I do remember that you referred them to government websites too. So a simple
Right.
Google search would probably help people. The government has sites to show you how to
Yes.
stay safe from phishing and
you-
scams.
Right. And you can never prevent all of the malicious emails from coming in because they constantly
Yeah.
upgrade and update how they do things to avoid what normally would detect them. So the best method is to be extremely cautious. And another thing that scammers will use is something called social engineering, which is quite popular.
Wow.
And what that may be in the form of, it could be a phone call where the person is pretending to be, a person of importance, or even just a person who works for you or works for the district and asking, I can't remember my password or my this or my that, and asking for that information. Or they may pretend they're a vendor and need some additional
Social
information.
engineering.
So everyone thinks of the criminal being this guy who's sitting in the dark room hacking away till they break through your system, and that's really not generally the way it happens. It usually happens through the fault of a person who gives away valuable
clicking on the Easy
information,
Pass link.
or
Let's
clicking on an Easy Pass link, or talking on the phone and giving away valuable information that is probably privileged. There was a big leak in one of the casinos in Las Vegas where someone called the help desk and needed help and managed to talk their way through getting some credentials. And, so you always just have to be really super careful. And also sometimes people prey on people being nice. People want to be nice. If someone calls up with a sob story.
I don't have to worry about that, Diane.
If people call up with a sob story about, I lost this, I lost that, this happened to me, I've had such a bad day, they could go on and on and sound really legitimate. The person on the other end of the phone feels terrible for them and they want to help them. And so just this once, I'm going to break the rule and I'm going to do this for you. Well, you can't do that. Even though you want to be nice, you really can't do that because you just don't know.
And Mike, you could talk about the breaches at schools if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, but we do a lot of things on our end to take advantage of some of the systems we have in place to monitor from a technology standpoint any breaches and where we might be vulnerable
For ransomware.
for ransomware. There's a lot of guidance from the state and federal authorities. We take the advisement a lot of NJ Kick is what we call it. But it's NJCCIC, and they put out regular, notices, very regular notices about known scams to be aware of. So in addition to that, we are always monitoring all of our systems, and we have a lot of systems in place, and we have our network administrator and our server administrator just constantly, looking at these alerts and just monitoring what's going on and reacting to them to try to, cut it off at the pass. So we're trying to head it off and not be a step ahead. But as we know, these cyber criminals, they're always trying to be a step ahead. So it's a constant struggle. And the big thing was, what we just talked about is the technology standpoint of it. But most cybersecurity professionals will tell you that the biggest threat is the employees themselves with providing this data, and the training we provide is every bit as important as the technology aspects that we have in place to monitor.
I agree.
I wanted to say something, and Mike just said about the employees. one thing that people might not expect is that we've sort of now spearheaded this joint effort under district security with our new director of district security. People think of that as like the building and the doors and the windows, but the technology has a very large part in that. And so we meet very regularly. We have a meeting tomorrow, it's every couple of weeks, with HR and district security and TSS and the business office and Judy. And we talk about all of these issues to make sure that as best we can, our procedures are safe. When we're onboarding a new employee, how are we getting the credentials to that person? We shouldn't be doing it over the phone. We're going to make sure we do it this way and that way. And, you know, maybe sometimes people don't think of that, but because so much is done with technology, you have to watch all of these things in terms of your district's safety.
I got to be honest, we're talking a lot of stuff here. So we could talk for another half hour, but maybe we'll have you guys back. Diane, I know you're trying to get back here. You know what I mean? Give you some more pointers, perhaps. But I wanted to thank you guys for coming on. You guys did a great job. And if people like it and they hit that like button, just say like
Give us some likes.
then we might be back. We might be back with TSS.
Like,
All right. Thanks again for coming, you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.